As the 2019 Wyoming Legislative Session is wrapping up, we're joined by Representative Jared Olsen. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, great to be here.
Looking back at the work from last week, what would you like viewers to know?
I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and we had a joint conference between the House and the Senate on the budget, and we reached a resolution.
So you sponsored House Bill 145, which would have repealed the death penalty. Our viewers had a strong emotional response to this bill, both for and against. Now, the bill passed by a narrow margin in the House, but ultimately died in the Senate. What do you think tipped that scale?
I want to say I still think the vote was relatively close in the Senate. I think about different aspects of it. Number one, I think, is an educational gap. I watched the Senate discussion of the death penalty repeal bill, and I have to say it was a much different discussion than was had in the legislature along the way. We had discussion in the House, we had a discussion in the House committee, and in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I would say that those discussions, I think, were much more robust. They were much more centered on the realities of the death penalty.
What was the background for this bill?
Of course, as I started to learn about the exonerees and the 164 wrongly convicted people in the United States, and I learned that we spend nearly $1 million a year on this death penalty defense, and it's just going down the drain, and it's a huge burden on the taxpayers. And so those became huge motivating factors for me.
And speaking about these exonerees, I interviewed Gary Drinkard, who came from Alabama and was wrongfully convicted on death row for almost 6 years. How does it make you feel when you hear those stories? Oh,
I'm absolutely motivated to repeal the death penalty when I hear those stories. To watch the vote die on the Senate, it was literally heartbreaking. I would even say my eyes probably teared up a little. As I learned more about those 164 exonerees, it became very, very personal for me.
And on the flip side, what were some of the arguments against the bill?
The main argument that we heard on the Senate side was that this is supposed to be a tool for prosecutors to use. I think that's highly unethical, and we can't trust that as a tool.
Some of our viewers who were in favor of abolishing the death penalty have asked if there's a chance of having this bill resurrected in another session.
All of the individuals who worked really hard with the bill, they're not going away. I can say I'm not going away with the idea. I'm very passionate about this and very committed to it.
And looking forward to next week, what should our viewers know?
As we bring the legislative session to a close, there's still a lot of bills out there and a lot of bills of great import, so I think they should keep their eyes on them.
Thank you so much for coming on our show and giving us this legislative update.